Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome to the Car Chat podcast. And with me today, I have Joe Achilles. Hi Joe.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Hi, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
I was looking this up. Joe was on, and I can't remember, the normal format for the podcast is running through someone's like journey of how their life and how they've got to where we are. And I don't know whether we actually did that with you because it was episode number 2, September the 14th, 2018.
Wow, almost, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly. Almost to the day.
Almost to the day. Wow, that is quite something.
Yeah.
So I guess I would sort of say, what have you been up to since 2018? But that's probably quite something. Just before, I think in that podcast, we'd seen the launch of the M2 competition.
Yes, that's right.
And you had ordered one, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast.
Okay, well remembered.
I think you hadn't said. I think we just hadn't said that. We were just talking about it existed.
Yes.
So since then, you've had an M2 competition.
Pretty much, yeah, and I've still got it. It's parked on your drive at the moment. So that's basically it. That's the last 2 years. Yeah, over and done. Nice to see you. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much. Sweet. See you next Tuesday. So on that car,
yeah.
That was, at the time, that was like your dream car. That was the one you wanted to get.
Yep.
So how has it been, your journey with that?
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I mean, it has its faults, but I think still to this day, and it is just about on sale still. It's right at the end of its lifeline now, and I think they're about to stop orders. But I think for the money, especially some of the really good finance deals that are around, I still think it's a very good car, good sports car, if you like. Mine's a manual. I know you're a big manual fan.
Yeah. And
I just think there's not many cars that are out there, manual, rear wheel drive, 400 horsepower, but also practical, big boot, 4 seats, even a Cayman, none of those sort of cars can do the 4-seat big boot thing. So I still think, there's nothing that I've kind of got my eyes on to replace that car. So I couldn't really be happier. It's a great little car.
I like seeing it today. You've got a bit of a Rorty exhaust on it.
Yeah.
They're just cool. And I don't know whether I must have, maybe I had my M2. Did I have my M2 at that point in time?
You did, I think, yes.
Maybe it just got it or.
Yeah, because I had an original M2, then I got rid of that. And then you got yours, which I was very jealous about because yours was an LCI and it was lovely, really nice spec.
Actually, was it not? No, it wasn't.
Was it not LCI?
No, it was the original.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, okay. Now I've completely lost concept of times.
And then you got your car. What sort of changes have you made over the time you've had it?
So I think the most important thing really for most M2 competition owners is the exhaust, just trying to bring back some of that sound that we'll sort of starve from these days because it has the OPF filters and stuff in place and the cats and things. It has a Remus back box and Remus mid-res delete, sort of straight pipes in the middle, which brings up a lot of sound when you want it, which is important to me. When you're in comfort or on the motorway, it's not too droney.
Not too droney.
Yeah, so that, I've got a lovely E-Venturi carbon air intake, which looks the business.
It does.
It looks really good. And it also definitely improves pickup and it gives you a nice sound as well, induction sound. And then I've just, put some recent EBC brakes on it. So some new sort of 2-piece floating calipers, discs that are just lovely and a few other bits and pieces, but I haven't gone too crazy. Like visually, I've also got the 763M sort of aftermarket BMW M Performance wheels on there, which are a lot lighter than the 788 standard wheels. And I love them. They look nice and simple, and I like simple. They kind of remind me a bit of the ones that you on your GT3 RS. They're not overcomplicated. I find wheel designs these days are just getting so overcomplicated.
They're going mad, aren't they, on some cars?
Yeah, and they look physically heavy, even if they're claiming they're not. It's just like, well, we don't need all this stuff. And also when it comes to cleaning it, like what a nightmare.
Yeah, when you've got all these tiny little, let's say like was it M4 GTS wheel, which actually the competition wheel was a bit like that, isn't it? Exactly. All these little holes.
Yeah. It looks great when it's in the showroom. Yeah. But try cleaning it 25 times.
Have you noticed a difference driving the car with some lighter wheels?
I did literally immediately, even on just literally pulling out of the garage after they've been fitted. The steering feel changed. I haven't taken it actually out. I have taken it on track once, but only for a couple of laps. But that's where you really start to feel it. That lighter sort of unsprung weight. And
it's such a tricky one because I know people bang on about it.
Yeah.
And we know from like physics that yes, lighter wheels, lighter brakes, whatever is better, but you never really get to try a before and after on a certain car.
No.
You just drive a car and go, well, that seems pretty good. And then you drive a different car and it might seem better or worse, but it's a different car. You never get to drive same model.
Yeah, there's too many variables normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, well, those wheels, maybe they felt great, but it could have been the steering or the car or whatever. But yeah, so that's true. It's very rare that you get to, drive a car in with heavier wheels on and drive it out. But they definitely feel better, whether that's sort of mentally me going, yes, no, they're definitely better, definitely worth buying.
But then if it's a placebo effect and it's effective, that's still an effect that
you run with it.
Every time you drive it feels better.
Exactly.
And they look better and whatever, and you get all that stuff.
Yeah.
With your YouTube channel, I was looking back and it seems to have taken off this year.
Yep.
What has changed? Do you think anything's changed that's led to that, or
I think
has your attitude changed?
I think it's a lot of things that came together at the beginning of this year before COVID, our friend COVID came along. Yeah. But yeah, I think last year I was really struggling. I had a lot of things going on in my life that were sort of mentally hard to deal with, and I just carried on as normal as I thought as normal, but I wasn't getting the views. It wasn't growing that big, and I think looking back at some of those videos now, I can see it in me that I just wasn't there and I wasn't engaged, and I think this year I've kind of approached it differently. I had some really big videos at the beginning of the year, but also doing some videos with Carwow, Matt Watson and stuff. That definitely helped. They all just seemed to cut. I had some really big videos. I got mentioned on Carwow a few times, so I got some of their audience and I could see the spike in that, and then it just continued to grow. And I think I was on 60k on January the 1st this year, and now I'm
120 or something?
Yeah, approaching 120, which is just
that's a massive gain. Yeah. And it's crazy, because how long have you been making videos for now?
Well, probably, I reckon, let's say 5 or 6 years, but the last 3 I've really been putting sort of, quite a lot of effort into.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like up until January, I was looking back at it, and it's like, you're gaining followers and it's slowly increasing. And I imagine it feels like really, really hard work at that point in time. And like, I find it, whether it's for the podcast or making videos or just other stuff, you should keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you should just like keep doing it. And it's like, if you keep doing it, you will get, unless you're shite.
Yes,
you will get there in the end.
Yeah.
And do you think that was the sort of culmination of just putting that effort in and keep going, and then you've started to get to this point where it's starting to come together?
Yeah, pretty much. It feels like, when you're on a steep slope in a rear-wheel drive car in the middle of winter, and you can't quite get out there, and it's just slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
And then eventually the tyres start to grip, and then you get that momentum. And it's just that, it's that effort. But it's a hard, as you know firsthand, and I know a lot of other YouTubers that are kind of around my level that have gone through a lot of like mental challenges over the past couple of years, because I think people just don't realise how much effort and time goes into it. And then, you should learn to ignore some negative comments or, the keyboard warriors. But it does get to you sometimes.
They just destroy you.
Destroy you completely. And it's like, why should they?
5 words or whatever. You're like, oh, you cut me to my deepest, darkest inside, like insecurity.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I'm never going to make another video again.
Exactly. And we joke about it now, but it can get to you, and through the winter months and stuff. But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort. Doing what we're doing today is a lot of effort. Filming a video, everything's effort, and you guys see the end results, which is great. But the stuff that goes into it beforehand is, it's hard work. So yeah, it's good. This year's been great in that sense.
One of the videos, which I believe was maybe it was at the beginning of this year, was that M3 touring that someone built.
Yes, yeah. So that's one of the big bangers. A guy called Nick Pritchard on Instagram, NP63. He's actually built a number of them, starting with the E46 years ago, and I saw it on Speed Hunters about 4 or 5 years ago, he had the E91, so the V8 one. And that thing was amazing. It had a supercharger. It was just insane. And I contacted him years ago before I even had a channel. And he was very kind, got straight back to me. And then I met him at a show a few years later. And he's a top guy. And he's always built M3 Tourings. and obviously now I've been speaking to him recently. And obviously he's just like, oh, damn, what am I going to do now that BMW are actually announced they're going to do one for this generation? But yeah, that video I knew it would do well, but it's like, I think by the end of this month, I think it'll be on 1 million views, which is which is really cool. And obviously, when you're getting those kind of views, you actually earn a little bit of money from it as well, you know, which is nice. So it's a double bonus.
Was that an interesting? Because that car, I remember seeing that video come out, and I've seen that car once before, maybe in the flesh, and it's just a really cool car. And I think that's it. That was immediately. I'm like, well, I'm watching. It's like, I want to know about this car. Like, tell me about it, the story. Yeah. Like, it's someone's project. Yeah. It's actually, it's so much more interesting than BMW just making an M3 Touring.
100%. I think anything that's new these days, you see it on YouTube. You refresh your subscriber page, and everyone's done a video about it. And almost waters it down immediately, doesn't it? It's like, I was excited about looking at that car, but now I'm not, because it's everywhere. But when you've got like a unicorn like that, I guess it's just awesome. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it's a cool one. And have you now, off the back of that and around, been trying to find other unicorn cars? Obviously that one's quite unique.
Yeah, it is, and especially for my audience, I guess, because I've got quite a big BMW audience. But I haven't actively really been doing that where I should be. It's just finding the time. But you're right, I think it is just finding those. I filmed a really cool A45S yesterday really cool. It was a standard A45S with 500 horsepower, but it didn't have an aero pack, and it was just so it was a new hot hatch or mega hatch, but it was just ballistic, this car, but it looked like the biggest sleeper. And I think just things like that are slightly different to stock. Yes, it helps with a clickbaity title. I don't like clickbait titles, but something in there.
You've got to grab people's attention somehow.
Got to. Yeah. And so I think I should definitely be more active looking for for more unusual cars.
Other than trying to, the effort of finding it, whatever, the effort of recording and doing the video is exactly the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've had someone reach out to me recently and said, "Oh, I did some stuff with the Honda E."
Yes.
And I reached out to them because I just thought that car was really interesting. I just thought it was interesting, cool. Can we do something with it? Sweet. Then I had someone else reach out and be like, "Would you like one of our cars?" I'm like, God, I'm touched, but I'm trying to work out how to say, like, I'm not interested in any of your cars. Thank you very much. Like, it's just the time and effort and all of the things. In an ideal world, yes, I would love to just be able to build that knowledge of just driving different cars. Yeah. Maybe drive for like half an hour, but not have to go massively out of my way to do it, because the audience doesn't care. Certain cars, audience just doesn't care about.
Yep.
And being able to say that.
How do you say it diplomatically?
How do you say that diplomatically? Be like, thank you so much, but like, in all honesty, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, unless you paid me, there's just other stuff I could be doing right now. Yeah. One of the other things you're doing at the moment, you're wearing a t-shirt.
Yes. Oh, did you want me to come up here topless or?
Well, yeah, I'm a bit, for our video viewers, I'm a bit depressed that Joe's not going to topless. I've given him the wide angle gunshot as well.
Yeah, you really don't want to see what's under here.
But you started a clothing company.
So me and my best mate Jonathan started a brand called Cntrlandshift about 18 months ago or so. And we do a number of t-shirts, including this Breaking Bad one, and various mugs and, phone mounts, car related sort of stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's going really well. We're kind of investing everything we make from it, we're putting back into the company, because it's a lot of time and effort. And again, when I set that up with my best friend, it was literally over a couple of pints. Yeah. He was like, look, I'm quitting my job to look after, he's got 3 kids. He's like, I'm going to spend more time at home. Let's set something up. And I was like, at the time, I was like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have any extra time in my schedule effectively, but you know, I'll be the face of the brand, and you basically do everything else, and he's the intelligent one, he's the creative one, he's the hard one. So it's kind of worked out. You know, it's worked out really well, and we've got a couple of other YouTubers that are sort of on board with it now as well. So we literally do their designs and sell their stuff, and they don't have to do anything apart from sort of talk about it occasionally in their videos to get their sales.
And I think the thing that struck me when I can't remember what the first one I saw was, but like they're all car related, and they're all like slightly funny puns, that to me go like, I'd totally wear that t-shirt because it's just like stupid and silly but like kind of fun. I'll have to get used. Let me know what you want, Sam. We'll sort this out. I could wear one on a couple of podcasts.
Absolutely,
rock it. But has it been interesting having that as like a side thing going along? Because everyone does. Main YouTubers make YouTube videos. YouTube, you get some revenue, but it's up and down and variable and whatever. And then we're starting to see a lot of the big YouTubers and then just people just trying to branch out and have other things that they can have going along whilst cranking out the videos. And just providing a bit of that security, I guess, that is not necessarily you have to record a video today of something interesting. And if it's the car world, you've got to go somewhere, find an expensive vehicle,
rely on the weather,
do all this stuff. Whereas like, it's actually quite nice just to have maybe like a product or whatever that is going along. You can chase that and provide a bit of sanity. Has that been good?
I think that's, you've summed up well there. And I also think that you do realize over time that, you know, if you've got people messaging you daily saying they've been out, and this is not me blowing my own trumpet, but saying they've been out and bought a car off the back of my videos or whatever it might be, you then suddenly think to yourself, well, wait a second, like if I might as well be selling something that I believe in that's actually mine, and promoting it.
Totally.
Because why should I always be promoting other people's stuff?
Generally for free.
Exactly. That's the other thing, isn't it? So that was kind of the thinking behind it, and it's it's good. People, there's some. I think John told me the other day he's shipped to so far 65 different countries, which is just like, I mean, that's my YouTube demographics really weird. I think it's like 45% UK, which is quite small compared to a lot of UK sort of automotive guys. And then it's just like 10% America. And then it just goes like 1, 1, 1, 1, like
really?
All these countries. Yeah. Some that I was like, where is that place? You know, like, so it's amazing. So and that kind of reflects in the control and shift sales. They're just all over the place. So
have you had a really good like feel good factor when someone buys a t-shirt from somewhere? Like actually, you know, you're like, they've spent money on my stuff because they like what we're doing.
I think when I get, especially when I get tagged, because again, John like deals with everything, so I don't really know. You know, if you ordered something, I wouldn't know until I'd seen you in it, for instance. But when I get tagged in a picture or something, and it's like, wow, this is so cool. Like, you know, some random guy in Taiwan or whatever.
That's mad, isn't it?
It's like, well, it's wicked. My t-shirt's walking around Taiwan, like, you know. But it is cool. It is nice because it's your own product, you know.
And you're interacting with your audience, and they value whatever it is you're doing enough to contribute. Have you done some live YouTube videos?
I did, through lockdown, I started doing a couple of them because they were fun,
and then, because I don't know whether did you have the like super chat and stuff turned on?
Yeah. Well, actually, a funny story about that. I had, I think it was my first ever YouTube live I did right at the start of lockdown, trying to come up with content, as a lot of us were. And it was about 10 minutes into it, and I'd had a couple of beers, as I tend to do on my lives, and someone from the States donated $100.
Wow.
Right. So I was like, I couldn't, when I watch it back, there's like a pause of about 20 seconds where I'm trying to compute what's just happening. And so I actually got a little bit emotional about it. And I was just like, I can't believe it. Like, this is crazy. And then 20 minutes later, someone else donated $100. And I was like, but no, like 2 or 3, there was just 100 and then another 100.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I need to keep this going. So yeah, I mean, I've never seen, normally it's like, 2, 3, but it's all great. It all helps.
It's still like,
it's amazing.
Someone going out of their way.
Yeah. To
just donate and help.
Exactly. And it is, sometimes you feel a little bit, like, oh, well, I do have a great life. I go and do all these amazing trips, except 2020, and drive all these cars, and I'm very fortunate. But I think a lot of people do also realise that it's not a life. It is a lifestyle, but it's not. It's something that it's a working lifestyle almost. Yeah. So it is. You're right. Even if it's 99 pence, it's still like, wow, that person's actually gone to the effort of doing that and appreciates me. So yeah, and
it counter affects the random YouTube comment that's whatever, really takes you down, and you're like, no, it's like there are people out there, and it's always trying to remember like the other 50,000 people that didn't write that or whatever.
Exactly.
But
but you always remember that.
You always remember
one negative 17-year-old that lives at home and his mum.
Because I had with the podcast, still working on getting some sponsors and stuff like that, and there's things in the works, but nothing there yet. And then someone suggested, oh, why don't you do like a buy me a coffee option, or like buy me a coffee and I'll edit a photo or whatever. And then I was like, okay, well, I was talking to someone about it, and I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do buy me a pint.
Yep.
You can buy me a pint on sammoors.com/shop.
Yep.
And just like put it up there, picture of a pint. What was an average price of a pint in London? £4.44. You can go and do it. And then someone, like, not very long after, bought one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What the hell?
It's actually a
There's
thing.
literally a thing on my website that just says, buy me a pint. You get nothing back.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I just got this amazing feeling. I was like, after your fees and whatever, you get sort of £4 or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a few people, like, it keeps happening. And it's great. Like, it's just a really nice interaction. Now, if it could be more structured somehow and regular or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that's a good, like, you've actually realised to yourself, you're like, oh my God, this is actually a thing. Like, it makes you feel worthwhile and makes you realise that people do love your content. So buy them a pint immediately.
Go to my website and buy me a pint. No, but thank you very much. Someone bought me 3 pints the other day.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
okay.
wow.
Yeah.
And generally people will reach out via Instagram at the same time and say, like, I've just bought you a pint.
Oh, nice.
Whatever. So I can have a little chat with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. It is that thing of, you put out all this content, all this free content.
Yeah.
And you put so much in on the front end that after a while, sometimes you think, because numbers can just be, they're just numbers on a screen.
Yeah.
They're not, you don't think, let's say you've got 5 people watching the video. You don't go, that's, Tom, John, Sarah, whatever, like, and see those people. It's just a number.
Yep.
And the next time you want more of the number.
Yep.
But when you get something like that, that number becomes
a real number,
a real person, and a real thing. And you're like, oh no, these people do actually enjoy it, rather than just like, I don't know, scroll past, watch for 4 seconds, and then go somewhere else and go, I wish, you didn't actually buy that car, you beep. Which happens to me with some channels.
Yeah. Yeah. No idea who you're talking about, but yeah.
No, it's cool. I think it's a wicked thing. And I really like the t-shirts. I think they're
thanks. Great. No, well, I'll hook you up, no problem.
Sweet.
Well, John will.
That's what I've been fishing for.
Yeah. Can I go now?
Get out. Okay, so winding it back a bit.
Yes.
So you've got your M2 competition. Recently, you've driven the M3 CS.
Yep.
So it's like a competition plus.
Yes, exactly.
Can you tell me what was that like? What was that like?
I think I went into the CS with really high expectations.
It does cost quite a lot.
It does cost quite a lot. And I'd actually, ironically, just had the M3 CSL, the E46 for a day. Have you driven one of them?
No.
Oh, well, let's
talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But I just got out of that and I was just blown away by how special that car was for a number of reasons, but lightweight being the main one, and lightweight is just the best, whether you're on the road or whether you're on track or whatever. There's no replacement, is there?
What's the line? Because Americans, there's no replacement for displacement.
Yeah.
But What can we think?
I don't know.
Lightweight.
yeah. Give us some suggestions. Spam him on his Instagram.
Yeah, let's give me some shout outs and comments.
But so even I knew it was roughly the same weight, which I just couldn't get my head around at the time. I just thought I'd get into that and it would be really amazing. And I think the thing with the CS is, yes, it's £22,000 more spec for spec. And when you actually...
So it's like, what, 70?
Yeah, it's 70, 75 for DCT or something. But when you actually look at the parts, so the lightweight wheels, it comes with a big brake kit, it comes with a carbon bonnet, a carbon roof and merino leather interior, better seats. When you add everything up, it's definitely, there's at least a 22 grand there. So I think I kind of summarised in my review just saying, look, if you can afford one of these, then it's a great car. It's an awesome car. It's actually a better road car, ironically, than the competition. Just down to the
suspension.
Exactly, and it's really good. Like I think they've nailed it, as they do with all of these end of the run. You know, the M3 and M4 are about to be replaced, so they've just tweaked it, and it's perfect. It's such a good road car. When I still got on track, it actually didn't feel any better than my M2 competition, and the times kind of reflected that. But I don't know what kind of miracle I was expecting because it is the same weight, and you know it was a smooth track, so the suspension didn't make too much of a difference out there. But yeah, I think when you're looking in finance, an M2 competition at the moment, you can get big discounts. And there's low APRs, and so the monthly payments are around 600 quid a month. Yeah. Whereas the CS is over £1,000. So I think if you're financing it, it's you wouldn't go for one because it's silly. It's twice the money. But if you've got the money to actually buy one, I think it's worth the sum of parts. But it's just not.
Because when you get to that price, my problem when you get to that price,
GT4s,
is you just start getting into some other stuff that is not underneath. Let's say, I don't know what a base 2 Series costs. What's the cheapest 2 Series you can buy?
Probably like 25 grand or something. Okay. Yeah.
So you're not a 25 grand base.
No.
If you get a Cayman or a GT4 or something. Like the base GT4 is 74 grand.
Yeah.
Like it only goes, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no lower. And you get a lot of cars. If you get a Cayman, the base car's 40 or something, 45 maybe.
Yeah.
And when you're in, I found with my M2, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great car, but you are aware that it is a 2 Series.
Yeah.
And with your, let's say, an M3 CS current, or I guess about to be replaced or whatever, they don't weigh very much more than an M2.
No. They're almost identical. All M3,
it's very
M4,
similar, isn't it?
M2. Yeah. So you're like, where are they hiding lead in here or something? Like, what are they doing? A bit like Porsche with the GT4, they was, give it a silly gearbox and a few bits to hold it back. Yeah. It's like a BMW. They weighed it down to slow it down so it doesn't step on the bigger brothers.
Because how does the M2 CS compare to the equivalent M3?
So yes,
or a £70,000 M3. I don't know what a £70,000 M3
so a 70 grand M3 would, I mean, they're not in production now, but it would have been like a competition package that's now that then became the competition. God knows why they changed that name. I mean, maybe they're having a competition about names. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So well, I think that's the other thing is I think that's a great car, especially the later ones, but it was more of a, you'd see lots of them out there. It was more of the run-of-the-mill M car. Whereas, when you look at it like that, I guess the CS you're getting a much smaller numbers, a bit more of a limited car with some special bits on it that you can't go out and buy. So, I think but you're right. When you look at GT4s and stuff and what else is around 75, 80 grand, there's a lot of cars that are out there.
But I guess your original point about the M2 competition still stands. Like, it's got 4 seats and a boot. And actually, your Cayman or whatever doesn't have that. Your 911 doesn't have... You can't put big people in the back of a 911.
No. And it's comfortable. With that suspension, in comfort on a long journey, it is just lovely. Like, it's really so plush. Whereas a GT4... especially with like the carbon buckets or something. It's nice, but it's not, you wouldn't call it comfortable.
It's definitely sport car nice rather than just nice.
Yeah,
in terms of lux.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And it is, obviously, it's a special sort of run out model.
Yep.
Do you know how many they're going to make? Have they limited it or not really?
I think I'm going to get shot down for this, but I think it's about 2,000. I think it's 2,000-ish.
Okay.
And they have really limited the numbers. I think each dealer in the UK gets 2 or 3 depending on their size. But then I know there's been some cancelled orders, and I think they'd like to build up the hype, a bit like Porsche, but Porsche tends to sell all their cars, whereas BMW, they're always left with a few of the CSs.
Couple left. yeah. Well, that's it. It's always like, that was always the thing where you should buy an M2 or you should buy like a 2-year-old M3, whatever, for 10 grand less. You're like, oh, damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
It is. Yeah.
Tricky. No, it's it's a cool car. I think if you're an M2 nut and you've got the money, perfect. My main problem with my M2 was the suspension.
Yes.
And I just wished you could have adaptive suspension or even just a setup that was better for UK.
Yep.
They just look so cool.
Yeah.
They are such a hoot.
Yeah.
So that's an unusual word. They're a hoot. Yeah. Drive.
No, they are. Yeah, it sums up them too well, I think. They are. Yeah, they always have been. And yeah, I think they are. They're just great. And I like smaller, compact cars. I think there's something really cool about it. Punches above its weight a little bit. But.
Yeah, because all cars are getting bigger and longer. And the M2 is an example of that. Of like, it's bigger than it probably needs to be. But similar size to that M3 CSL, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Except that was probably a lot. No, I'd say that's smaller.
Sort of lower.
Yeah, maybe same sort of length, but lower and slimmer. And just,
So talk to me about this M3 CSL. E46 M3 CSL.
Have you driven one?
I've not driven one.
Oh, mate. You would love... I mean, most of you know Sam's a proper driver. And so you would appreciate...
Like Joe.
Well, I'm all right. But yeah, you would appreciate this. Honestly, it's just... There's just something about... I've always wanted to drive one, but it's a real case of, never meet your heroes. Because I just thought it's old, it's... what was it, 2000? We're talking something that's nearly 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm going to get in this and it's going to be cool, but some things are going to be disappointing. And I think the SMG gearbox was my main concern because that's what we read about. And it is a period gearbox. It's, even in its time, it wasn't one of the best.
It wasn't very good when it came out.
No, so I wasn't expecting too much with that. And that was good. That was a good way to approach it because I was actually quite blown away by everything to do with that car, but it was just the feeling from the time we started it up with the manual key and the steering feeling. The manual key.
How is that a phrase?
You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. A normal key that you stick in the dash and turn.
Exactly. Just that was lovely. And then everything else that engine was great in the normal E46, that straight 6 NA engine was just amazing. But in that, it's another level with that carbon airbox. And you watch some of these videos online and you can hear it and you're like, wow, that sounds great. And then when you're actually in it, it's just honestly like, look, the hairs on my arms are literally
still standing up.
It was that good. And unfortunately, I asked BMW, I wanted to shoot a few videos that week. So I said, okay, just give us that for this day. So I'll pick it up at 10 and drop it off at 3.
Okay.
And by about 10 past 10, I was like, why? Why have I said I'll give this back today? I was just like, and then I was like,
hold the phone. I need it for another week.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to earlier on about the filming thing, I was like, not even why am I giving it back this day? Why do I have to film a video today? I just want to go and drive this car and enjoy it. And I haven't felt that excited and engaged and emotional around the car. Like I'm getting excited now just because it was just like, and the gearbox, it was slow. It could be better. And the manual conversion, few people have done it. It's not particularly hard because it is an automated manual box. But even the gearbox, you just learn to work around it and learn to use it how it needs to be used. And there's just honestly, you've got to drive it, mate. And if you're not as excited as I am, then I'll be surprised because I just think it's brilliant. But it's all down to weight. The pace it had, everything about it is just amazing. And it was all down to the fact that it didn't weigh much.
How much did it weigh?
I think so. So it's 110 kilos lighter than the E46 M3 at the time.
Right.
And that was about 1360 or 1380. So we're talking something 12. Yeah. So it's in the mid to high 12s. which is for a car of sort of, you know, it's a medium-sized car. I think it's, and it sounds crazy when you're talking about this and people are like, oh yeah, but it can't be that. But honestly, that 100 kilos, and it's all in the, you know, like the roof and everything. And it's just so simple, the car. There's nothing to it. It's just, brilliant. And it was on modern, I think what made it really good was it was on modern Michelin tyres.
Right.
So everything else was standard and how it left the factory. It was a BMW UK car, so it was immaculate. But they put modern Michelin rubber on there, which really, you know, I mean, it gave it endless amounts of grip, which I guess is a good thing and a bad thing. But it just felt mega, really
it's good. That weight.
Yeah.
The weight. Yeah. It's just, I've seen, I think in the last month, year, all my life, I don't know, the last couple of weeks I've been really thinking about the weight of cars. And it's not normally sparked by having a go in my Radical. So I took the Radical out about a month ago to Silverstone, and that car, I was looking it up recently, 570 kilos, 250 horsepower.
Wow.
So it's like, it's punchy from a performance point of view anyway, but 570 kilos plus me, so I'm like 70 or whatever. So 640. You compare that to like my GT3, which is, I don't know, 13, 25, something like that, plus me in it, 14. It's like half the weight. Half the weight. And that's not
that's not a heavy car.
That's not a heavy, by any means, modern car.
No.
But everything is just so much better. And you're like, you get back in these road cars, and like I told you, I drove the Honda E. Cool little city car, and I would say great for being a city car. If you only short trips, whatever, fine. But that car weighs 1550. And when I was driving it around initially, I didn't really feel that heavy, but I was just kind of pootling around, not pushing the dynamics at all, just using it as a little city car. And then I took one roundabout, like a bit fast, and just like, you know, just wind on the steering a bit until it starts to push or whatever. And you suddenly go, oh, wow, this is heavy. And you've driven some electric cars, haven't you? And I haven't driven any other electric cars other than that, but I imagine they all have this feeling of all the weight is like in your feet. So and you're aware that there's this big mass down there, but the car doesn't move, like doesn't really roll and stuff, because the weight is just on the floor. And the top doesn't really feel like it's there. So you just have this heavy mass scooting around under your feet somewhere that you're directing, and it's locked down. But as soon as you start trying to do anything, you're just like, hang on a minute, this is unbelievably heavy. And therefore awful.
The way you described that is very true, because it is weird with electric cars. They all weigh a lot, but like you said, all the weight's in the right place. So in one instance, you're like, oh, this thing feels all right. But then when you actually do start throwing it around or into a roundabout, you realise that even though that weight's on the floor, the weight is still with you. And so unlike a bus where it, like, you know, sways around and you're really aware of it, you're not until you start pushing it. And then you're like, oh, there's a lot of momentum here.
It's all this mass, and it's getting pushed into performance cars and all this stuff. And, you know, it's not the weight. It doesn't make an evolving car. And the idea of a 12 something kilo car that you can put some people in the back and luggage in the boot. I can just imagine right now going down a little B road. And it's just going to be sort of floating because there's not all this bloody mass everywhere. And you slam on the brakes and it's not like you're trying to stop a bus. And you don't realize you're trying to stop a bus until you get in something that is 200 kilos lighter, 300 kilos lighter, even like 100 kilos lighter than your normal thing. Like, imagine you get in a new RS6. It's performance wise, I think it's very similar to the old RS6, but it's 100 kilos heavier. Like, no one needs a car that's 100. Like, all these things are so big. And you do wonder with the technology and the materials we got these days and the cost of things coming down. You just do scratch your head as to why, especially as, I mean, it's all about getting that CO2 figure down and the, you know, economy, sort of the car more economical to bring the cost down. So you do think, well, why aren't manufacturers attacking that weight more? Because that's just, you don't need to do anything else. Attack the weight and then everything else comes with it. Because you get a little, like, so I'm looking at this Honda E and it will do 130 miles on a charge or whatever. And in theory gets pretty good fuel economy, it's an electric car. It's difficult quite to sort of calculate it, but reasonably good.
Yeah.
Like pretty good. But then you look at something like a VW Up, which weighs 1,000 kilos and has like a tiny engine.
Yeah.
And that'll do like, I don't know, 60, 70 mpg.
Yeah.
On a little petrol engine.
Yeah.
You know, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, what's
we've
wrong with
spent
that?
all this money. We've made all of these, like, we've mined a whole bunch of lithium out of somewhere, which is not a good thing. No matter what anyone says.
Yeah.
And we've made all this mass that you then have to move around.
Yeah.
Whereas the old recipe of just light and small was actually quite good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And way more fun to drive.
Way more fun to drive. And if you forget to charge it in the evening, you can drive to your petrol station and charge it in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we will get there with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless we start doing hydrogen or something else.
Yeah.
Where you can charge your car in like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Or 3 minutes or whatever. And then you can use it. But for me, all of these cars, when like my mum was looking at getting a new car.
Yeah.
And she asked me about hybrids.
Yeah.
And all the hybrids now are 150 kilos heavier than the other car.
Yep.
And invariably all the hybrids that people are looking at are SUVs.
Yep.
Which are really heavy anyway.
Yes.
And
not aerodynamic.
If you want an SUV, fine. Like, they're not for me.
Yeah.
But I totally see why you might want an SUV.
Yeah.
But if you want an SUV and someone's going to claim you're going to make it more eco by making it hybrid.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you make it slightly more eco, but it still weighs, you're still driving a brick.
Yeah.
That weighs 2.5 tons.
Yeah.
Like, that's never going to be eco.
No.
Like, if you are one person in a car, in theory, your car should be the size for one person plus luggage.
Yeah.
So it should probably weigh like 500 kilos or something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then 500 kilos, you probably need like 50 horsepower and you probably get 100 and something mpg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's,
no, I mean, it's a whole nother discussion, isn't it? But I think electric cars have come a long way. And yeah, I haven't driven the Honda, but ironically, I've just given back an e-tron Sportback.
Okay.
And the
What's
week,
that like?
Yeah, really, really good. So I had a Taycan for a couple of days off a friend, which was just mind blowing I say for an electric car, just for a car. It was like, wow, this thing's a serious bit of kit. And then I had a Mini E, which I presume is very similar to the Honda.
I think it probably is a similar sort of concept.
Yeah, a bit worse range probably. And then I had the e-tron Sportback, which is amazing, but again, massively big and 2.5 tons or something. And I think that the actual products, the technology in the cars and stuff, they're pretty good. Like if they're charged, they're quite usable and interesting things. But I think, yes, it's the infrastructure is so far behind that they only work for certain scenarios. And I found with all of them that I was planning, whether it was a video or a trip to the shops, or I was planning my life around the car. Yeah. And that shouldn't be a thing. We have our cars to help us out in life, not to make things difficult.
At the moment, it's like the last bastion of like, I don't think about, other than, maintenance and whatever.
Yeah.
In my life, everything else needs to be charged. Like right now, I've got 2 cameras, an iPad, this is plugged in, but like a laptop and like a phone and all of these things need to be charged all the time. And it just is there in the back of your head, taking up your mental like capacity. Yeah. Whereas the car is just I leave it there and then I drive it and I'm like, I've run out of petrol, put some petrol in, done.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas, you forget to charge your car, or if you've got a hybrid and you don't charge it every night. Yeah. There's no point in having the hybrid.
No, because then, like you said, you're carting around an extra 150 kilos in a car that's less practical because you've lost some boot space due to the batteries that aren't charged. Yeah,
and they're always petrol.
They're always petrol,
so they're less efficient than if you just got a diesel. And
oh,
it will get there. Yeah. I hope it gets really light. I love someone like Gordon Murray's attitude. Yeah, just I want to make the best road car. Which is what all of these manufacturers should be aiming to make. Yeah. The best road car. Don't make a car. Yes, okay, fine. Make some halo products for people that might take it on track, but the majority of people don't take their cars on track. Yeah. So make the road experience the best you can. Yeah. And forget about everything else. Yeah. And just that single-minded focus for light weight. Yeah. In everything. Yeah. It's just that T50 is just going to be unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched again, talking about earlier on when I said all those videos come up in your feed, I watched every single
Except
one.
I watched them all.
Yeah. And then some. I was like, who else got their hands on that car? Because he repeated himself a lot, obviously, because he was talking to various people about the cars. But each time he talks about something,
you get a different nugget.
Different, just a slightly different twist on it. And it's just like, wow, that thing's just next level. But yeah, like you said, it's just all about, feeling and emotions and driving, and doesn't care how fast is it. Who cares? It's fast enough. Trust me.
Yeah. It's going to be really damn fast.
Really fast. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Not 62. Really damn fast.
Not 62 as well. It's such an irrelevant time now when you've got your Tesla P100D X, so like family wagon that will do 2.5 or something.
I know, F1 pace.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay.
But
yeah.
that experience, I want someone to come out with, and you could say, well, yeah, but Lotus do this. Like, yeah, they do actually sort of do this.
Yeah.
Like you drive an Exige.
Yeah.
For me, the Exige is not quite as refined as I would like a car to be.
Yeah.
But then you drive the Evora, and I don't really like the looks of the Evora.
Yeah.
But as a car to drive, it's the closest car to my GT3 RS, I would say, I can think of. Like, in terms of an experience, it's a similar sort of engine. It's light.
Yeah.
Really quite light. And it's the damping and the way it goes down a road. Like the way they set up their cars is how we want our cars set up in the UK.
Yeah.
They just flow so nicely. And you've still got the performance, you've still got the grip, but the car moves a bit. Whereas we end up with, you've driven a bunch of stuff recently, like say like M8, RS7, RS5. Imagine all of those are a bit like, I've driven the Bentley Continental. They're controlling mass.
Yes.
And they try and remove all body roll.
Yeah.
Because if you let that body roll, it's just going to roll over.
Yes, yeah.
But like not having to control that, as soon as you start controlling it all and you go down a road, everything's just solid.
Yeah.
And you just get grip, go around a corner. And then ultimately at some point in time, you run out of grip.
Yeah.
Probably don't, because you'd be going too fast anyway.
Yeah.
But that sensation of coming near the edge is just not fun.
Yeah.
You can't sidle up to it.
No.
And be like, a little bit more lock. Okay, back a bit.
Yeah. You can't feel that, can you? Like, you're right. I mean, I think there's a time and a place for some of that sort of technology in my 7 Series, for instance,
Totally.
I'm a chauffeur, by the way. I don't just have I'm not like a baller.
That's just my daily.
I just drop that. Yeah, just drop that in. Yeah. But yeah, I think like keeping the car nice and flat. But as soon as you start putting that tech into like high performance sports cars and stuff, it's a whole different car to drive, isn't it? Like it's a whole different machine. I love feeling a little bit of lean, and because that's kind of like, that's part of handling. That's part of what you're used to. Even in like, sports cars or race cars, even, there's still going to be a bit of lean in there. But yeah, once you start removing all that, it all becomes a little bit artificial, I guess.
Yeah, even in your like prototype racer.
Yeah.
Now, the amount the body might move might be like 2 millimeters. It might dip at the front.
Yeah.
But when you're driving it, you feel it.
Of course.
And it's like you're doing it on suspension and like stuff's happening. Whereas all these cars have got these electronic systems to just stop that.
Yeah.
And I remember with the Bentley Continental, some of the chat is like, oh, we've got a 45 volt system that can deliver 3,000 Newton meters of torque from motors. And all I'm hearing is like, so you've got some really heavy things to stop the heavy things from moving. So your car probably weighs, like the V8 convertible that we had for a bit was like 2.4 tons.
Wow.
And you look at it, it's not a massive car.
No.
And it's not got tons of space.
No. Small boots, small rear seats.
And you get in like, say my S4.
Yeah.
Pretty modern car.
Yeah.
That's like 15 something.
Yeah.
1550.
So where's the extra ton?
Where's the extra ton? And it's not like you get in something like a 2017 A4 type, S4 type thing and go, yeah, this feels cheap and flimsy. Like, oh, these doors are just wobbling about.
Yeah.
Everything goes thunk.
Yeah. Well, it's the same car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same group. Yeah.
Same sort of thing. Just another ton.
Yeah. Ton.
Of tech.
Where is that? Yeah. Yeah.
How much does your 7 Series weigh?
That's actually, ironically, the 7 Series, because the current one, it's built on the carbon core, which is essentially like I think the top end of the chassis is built up from a lot of carbon. It's something that I think BMW did and have now stopped doing because it was too expensive to keep their carbon factory going. So I think they used it for the i8 and the i3 and a few cars like that. But ironically, the 7 is almost exactly the same weight as the equivalent 5 due to that weight saving. So it's about 2 tons, but it's a long wheelbase 7 Series.
Car.
Yeah, with a big diesel lump in the front, and I mean, there's 1.9 tons of leather in there. So so I guess when you look at it like that, the Bentley 2.2 plus 2 seats convertible against my
V8,
7,
not even the W12.
Not even, can you imagine that would add another 100 kilos? It's not bad, I suppose, the 7 being 2 tons with all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a big car.
Yeah.
When I look at a car that big and you go, it's 2 tons, I'm like,
yeah.
When you look at that, like a Honda E or something and go, it's 1,500 kilos. No. That doesn't compute.
No. Well, my M2 is 1,620 or 16. And when I park that against my 7, I'm like, how is there only 400 kilos of difference between these two,
It's mad. Where is all this weight? Like, what? I know there's like safety and blah, 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 but what is the unbelievably solid stuff? And if you took, let's say you're Gordon Murray, someone who's just, or a Lotus engineer or whatever, and gave them, I don't know, an M2.
Yeah.
And said, go on, have at this.
Yeah.
Just start again sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yes, the engineers at BMW I'm sure their engineers are just as good as anywhere else in the world, if not better.
Yeah.
The German companies are bloody good at making cars.
Yeah.
But why are they all so heavy? Like, would it be possible to make a 2 Series that was 300 kilos lighter? What I want to know what the main restrictions are. And probably they would just say the price, like the base price, 25 grand. We just can't do the stuff to make it cheap and make some money, because that's 25 grand. That's not what it costs them to make the car.
Exactly.
And then when you hear someone like, whether it's Porsche, how they made the 918 only really heavy rather than really, really heavy. The level of stuff they went to on just every single component in the car. They're like, let's make that lighter. And then they come back again and they're like, can we make it lighter still? And they do that on every single thing. And then that's how you lose 100 kilos or 200 kilos over a whole car.
Which obviously costs. Just endless amounts
coin. But you would then get the fuel economy back.
Yeah.
So like my S4, which just genuinely blows my mind. If you drive at 70, you get 40 mpg.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I just don't understand.
Because
it still does sub 5 seconds to 60.
60. Yeah. And then you look at the new one that's a diesel, and actually really, I reckon you wouldn't get 50 in the diesel. You'd probably get 46, 47.
Right.
And then when you look at the pump prices, diesel is about 10% more expensive. So then you think, well, but so how have we progressed here? Because also diesel's like the devil's fuel at the moment. So it's like what's
it?
Like, and it's a heavier front end now as well. So you get a bit more understeer.
Understeer.
No, but so it's like I know as good as. I mean, I'm not an anti. I think a good 6-pot diesel is amazing. They're incredibly efficient for throwing cars down the road, heavy cars. But I don't understand that move, because
I think the car must be heavier as well. It's just heavier, and it's all that thing of like I keep going, okay, well, what if I changed it for a diesel of some sort? And you go, to get a similar level of performance from a diesel, like you said, you just don't get that much more.
No.
You don't get that much more range and
efficiency.
Fuel economy.
No.
Maybe in town, but
then
you're driving a diesel around town, which is
costs £400 to park it somewhere.
Yeah, and one of the most antisocial things you can do, apparently, at the moment.
Yeah.
What would you say the top 3 cars you've driven this year, in the last year, 2 years even?
Okay, so let's say this year, just because, mate, I was 41 last week. I'm getting old. My memory's not,
happy birthday.
I'm losing my memory. Yeah, thanks. So this year, well, we've talked about one of them, and it's definitely one of the standout cars of my life. I think that I've driven is the E46 M3 CSL.
Do you think a lot of that has been around the fact that that has been just like a dream car for a long, long time.
I think so, yes. I mean, I love the E46. I think the E46 has always been a dream car, not necessarily the CSL, but just the E46 in general. And I think that was the pinnacle. But I think more so that I was actually more impressed by it than I thought I would have been. Yeah. And I was looking forward to it. So that was a real, real incredible. Anyone that gets a chance, if your mate's got one or whatever, just grab the keys and take it out.
I'm always slightly surprised when you're talking to different people that get to drive some really mad stuff.
Yeah.
Like, let's say James at DK Engineering.
Yeah.
Like what did you do today? I road tested an F40 and an F50. Cool. Sweet. He has an E46 M3 CSL.
There you go. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Like as one of his, like a couple of cars.
Yeah.
And like some of the other cars are like batshit stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's someone else has one. Max Gerardo.
Yes, Max. I heard that on collecting cars. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like a few people that
you can trust,
like driving, know their stuff.
Yeah.
Have gone to get this old BMW M3.
Yeah.
And rate it, and you're like, and clearly you had the best time ever.
Oh, it was epic.
What do they cost nowadays?
I think tidy ones are 80 to 100, and there's not too many of them out there. But yeah, you definitely need to speak to BMW UK and ask them for more than a day.
More than a day.
And if after a day you're like, just give us a ring, I'll come take it off your hands.
Joe, I need this delivering to the other end of the country. No problem.
I'm there already.
What else have you driven?
So, I mean, I've driven a lot of interesting cars this year. Like the start of the year was really good before the lockdown. And I mean, impressive cars. Like we talked about the RS6, the new one. I drove one of them out to the Black Forest in Germany. And that was great in snow and on winter tires.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool trip, and it was kind of what that car's designed to do, I guess, long miles and a bit of fun in the snow. But I wouldn't say it was like a standout car. It was very similar to the previous gen in that sense. And
is that still the sort of ultimate daily car for lugging stuff around and whatever?
I think so, yeah, because I think the E63 is fantastic, but it's a bit firm. It's never that comfortable. It's like really solid, isn't it?
Surprising.
Yeah, surprisingly so, especially for a Merc, because Mercs are usually good with the comfort side of their suspension, even on their AMGs. But anyway, so that was, and then BM M5 Competition, amazing, but they don't do a wagon or a touring. So you kind of you're stuck with the RS6. What a shame. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going off subject, but I think, okay, so another real standout car, I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball in here because I'm not an EV like supporter, or I don't get too excited by them, but the Taycan is an impressive bit of kit. Like it's just like, it is like something out of this world. As soon as you step inside, you're like, this cabin is just incredible. Okay, there's so much touchscreen stuff that's just silly, and some of it makes no sense, like some of the new Audi stuff. It's just overcomplicated. But as someone like you that appreciates your gadgets and your tech and stuff, you're getting there and you go, oh, this is, regardless of whether that works or not, it feels
like the future,
and that's exactly, and the performance and the way it manages its mass is really impressive. And that was the base 4S that I was in, with a measly 470 horsepower, I think. But it had overboost 570, so it was crazy.
Crazy torque,
immediate, So that was, I think that was a standout car, because I think it was the first time I've driven an electric car and I've been like, give us the keys, I want to go and drive it again. Whereas other electric cars are like, oh, it's impressive, I'll drive it, but I'm not like gagging to get out in it.
Was that the first all electric? No.
What, that I've driven, or?
Yeah, that you'd driven.
No.
Was that the Mini or something?
No, it was the original. No, I've driven all of the Teslas over the past couple of years, and I've driven the original e-tron, which was last April actually, which was the first car I got in, and I was like, first EV. Oh, this is a proper bit of kit, because the Teslas are let down by the build quality, and I don't like all of the.
Where it's done,
it's like your iMac turned on its side, and it's like, that's not distracting at all during the night with that glowing in your face. But and then the other standout car that I've driven very recently, again a bit more of an older car and something you can relate to, is 997.2 GT3. And it's on your list.
It's on my list. I wrote down as 0.1, but anyway. So you drove a 997.2 GT3.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I thought, so I had, again, it was like one of my dream bucket cars. I love the way they look. They're very petite nowadays compared to a 992 or something. And I have to say, the first 10, 15 minutes, I was actually struggling a little bit because although my M2 is a manual and I love manuals, it's you forget that with the modern clutches, and it's so easy. It's an easy manual. Like the clutch is so light and
you're hitting the gate.
Yeah. So it feels, firstly, the manual box feels like a gated gearbox, like an old R8 one or something. But the clutch is like, the clutch is so heavy and everything about it was really physical. But only because I think it's like when you watch someone trying to dance that can't, or do something they can't, once you learn how to do it, it becomes easier. And 15 minutes, I was like, okay. Half an hour later, I was like, yes. And then I just didn't want to get out of it. But it was just such a mechanical, visceral car that was very rewarding. It did have its, I found the front end, typically 911 of that era, a bit vague. And like, it wasn't my car. I didn't have it for long, so I wasn't pushing it. Whereas like I could jump in a GZ4, for instance, and I could push it quite quickly, and the front end seemed a lot better. But everything else, I mean, it's what a car. I mean, just lovely. Just, really, really, I can't even imagine what the RS version would be like. But in a way, I guess maybe the normal one's as good a road car as the RS.
Like, I think the main problem that stops me using my RS more is the cage in the back.
Of course,
and not having any sort of folding seats.
Yes.
So if you want to put two hand luggage size wheelies or whatever, one will go in the front, but you can't get two in the front.
Right.
And then to get another one in the back is basically impossible. It's like some crazy Tetris thing. And okay, you could just take soft bags and whatever, but if you're just, you pack a bag, I'll pack a bag, let's get in the car. You can't do that. But with the RS, you do get a bit more of the front end. It's like it's like 10-15% more of all the right stuff. But it was funny. The first time I drove an RS was I went and did an experience day at Porsche. And did the Porsche RS Evolution or whatever they called it. And it was driving the 997.1, .2 and a 4 litre. In an hour and a half or whatever.
4 litre, okay.
And you can't go and do that anymore. That was sick. But the first car I got in to the .1, I just like couldn't change gear. I'd do like second to third, and I'd hit the middle. And I don't know what I think before that I just had like my Boxster, which has quite a fluidy gearbox, like your M2. It's like it's a really easy gearbox to use. And I was just like, the guys like looking at me like, "Are you a retard?" And I'm like, no, I just can't. Like, I'll get there, and then having had my car now for whatever it is, 6-7 years or something. You learn the car, you learn the gearbox, and it's hard work. But so rewarding because of it. And once your hand knows the movements, you can just go bang, 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 bang. But you do have to actually push it. Whereas like some gearbox, you can like one finger just flick them across, like, fifths over there. Done. But no, it's cool. Okay, so it's cool you've got to drive one, because I remember, I think the last time you were on the podcast, I think you were talking about, you were like, that's a car I would love to have a go in. We haven't been able to get you out in the RS. We'll do that at some point. When it's back.
No, it was really good. I think that, and one more little that I'll touch upon quickly. I was with Tim Schmee, school friend of yours, in Germany a couple of weeks ago. He needed one of his fleet bringing back to the UK.
Which one did you get lumped with?
So I had to drive the 675 LT Spiderback, which is actually a very efficient, very easygoing long distance car. So I drove, but while I was out in Germany, he threw me the keys to his SLS Black Series. Oh, that thing is just,
How's my God. Talk me through that car. I've not driven it.
So it's. Have you driven any of the? Have you driven?
I've driven an SLS.
Okay, so you've got similar. So you sit really low, long, massive bonnet, and a kind of little letterbox windscreen that you're looking through. But he's just had his. I think it's decat. He's had so much done to it. It's already a monster, but it's the loudest thing I've ever driven. And to me, it was just like it was like a typical American muscle car meets Mercedes, and then it's turned up to 25. It's just like, it was like any gear that normally aspirated. The pickup the sound. I wouldn't, but the minute I drove it, and even when I gave it back a few hours later, I was just like, this is fun, but I wouldn't feel comfortable really pushing this car, because it felt like there was a lot of weight. You just didn't. It was completely opposite to when you jump in a McLaren or something. Yeah. You feel everything like, oh, this is cool. I could take it straight out on track and get a good time in it. This thing, no. Like, and respect I've got for Tim taking that thing out around the Nürburgring or something. It's like, whoa, like, I don't know where the limits would be on that thing. But yeah, incredible car. But yeah.
I think the transition, because the transition from SLS to Black Series is like, it's a different car. Like it's basically a different car.
Yep.
Went to, is it HWA?
Yep.
Who make the GT3 cars, and they were like, this is our project.
Yeah.
So it's not just like
it's not a CS.
SLS CS or whatever.
No.
Because I remember when I drove the SLS, I drove it on that mad road in Dubai.
Yeah.
Someone lent me the keys to go and take some photos in the morning, and was like, drive down the road or whatever as well. So, why not?
Yeah.
Have a little hoon. But I had this real disconnect. And I think it was because I'm used to mid-engined-ish or being in the center of a car where you turn the front goes, and then the back sort of catches up.
You can feel it,
and you can almost feel
you're
like
on the nose more.
The point where the nose turns, then there's a gap, and then the back like reacts, and you're like, whoa, like, I need to drive this differently or something.
Yes.
But there's some sort of weird swinging momentum situation where you're at the back of the car and everything else is happening at the front that is so different to all of the cars I'd driven up to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it felt like at slower speeds to me. I was just like, this is going to take some getting used to, I wouldn't push that straight away, but yeah, that sounds
fun. It sounds like a sick thing. Like, and I think probably when you get used to it, I think it is very good.
Yeah.
And like on the limit and all around it. But you've got to get to that point, and not when someone just gives you the keys.
No. And tells you, like how rare it is and the value of it. And it's like, thanks, Tim.
And how special it is to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had to drive out of this car park in this hotel, the V8 hotel in Stuttgart, which I'd seen in many of Tim's videos. It was weird because I pulled up in an Uber and there was Tim at this hotel, and I was like, oh my God, this is weird. This is like watching one of your videos, but I'm actually here this time. But the car park, he literally threw me the keys to that in the car park, and to get like even my M2 out, I'd be a little bit cautious. But this thing, it was just like left-hand drive. And I was just like, mate, I've got no idea where the corners are on this car. You got to guide me out. And Tim's like, see you later. I was like, oh God. Anyway. Yeah.
It's funny, the gate there on the drive it's like kind of narrow.
Yeah.
And then there's a kink as you drive down. Yeah. And driving I took the F40 out the other day, and the first time I went in, I had someone just watch me and drive through, and I measured it, and there's like 10 centimeters either side or something.
Yeah.
It's not tons, but like, nowadays that's considered a decent amount of space.
Yeah.
But when I was reversing out, the wing mirrors, I think, must be set in.
Right.
So they're not at the widest point of the car and then looking back. So if you look back from the wing mirrors, it's not a perfectly straight line to the back of the car.
Okay.
So it's like a slightly splayed out angle.
Yep.
So when you get closer to the gate...
Yeah. Oh, that gap gets smaller.
The gap, it looks like the car will no longer fit. Like you can see the gate post on one side and the gate post on the other side and no gap.
Oh.
And you're like, but I know this fits through here. But like, this gap better gets like bigger. And then as you get closer, it starts to appear again. Like,
yeah. Wow. It's like Russian roulette, with the F40.
Yeah, I just don't want to scratch it. Thank you very much.
No.
So we covered the M3 Touring, the one you saw and drove. New M3 Touring. New M3.
Yep.
When is that coming out?
So I think we're going to finally see some official pictures and press releases and stuff this month.
Okay.
And I think order books open maybe October next month. And then we should see them in the UK, I'm guessing. I think everything's been a bit delayed, but I'm going to say like May, June next year. So, yeah, and obviously that's a completely new thing. Yeah.
Unknown.
Unknown. Yeah, it's interesting. I can't say much. I might or might not have seen one.
Okay.
And it might or might not be amazing, but I don't know. Yeah, okay. It's going to be interesting because I think all the talk, it's funny, all the talk around the new 4 Series is obviously the grille, which is pretty horrific.
Yeah.
And that somehow creeped onto the face of the M3 as well, which I don't get because the 3 Series doesn't have it. But anyway, but I can imagine that on the new M cars, from rendering shots of and stuff I've seen, it's a much thicker sort of border of that grille. And I know I know it's like trying to put like makeup on an ugly tart, but but it's what I'm trying to say is it's going to look a lot better on the M cars
than the standard car,
than the standard M4. And I think there's a lot more to the actual car that's going to
be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't really say very much. Do we know what engine?
Yeah. So it's going to be the S58. So it's the same engine that's actually in the current X3M competition.
Yeah.
So again, typically BMW straight 6 turbocharged. 500
and something horsepower.
Yeah, 510, I think. Yeah. And that's going to be like, and they're bringing out a pure version, which is about 470 horsepower, but rear wheel drive only.
Oh, okay.
But I think we're going to get that, but we're not. As far as I know, we're probably not going to get the manual version, but I don't know. That still hasn't been confirmed.
So there's going to be certain places that are going to get the manual rear-wheel drive one.
Exactly.
And some.
Yeah, which is, it's cool. I think that BMW is still offering, whether we get them or not, I think in this day and age, obviously it's a lot cheaper to just go, right, we're only building an X-Drive and it's going to be DCT. Yeah. Oh, it's not DCT anymore. It's going to be the ZF8 speed, which is probably the same one. Yeah. You've got in your Audi. So yeah, you think they'll just go, that's all you're getting, they're the only options, because that's kind of would expect that. But the fact that they're actually saying, no, we're going to bring out a rear wheel drive one, it's going to be a bit lighter, and we're going to bring out a manual option in that
cool.
one. It's like that. It's like, oh well, that's very cool. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be. Again, let's hope the weight hasn't gone crazy, and I think it's going to be quite special. I think the interior, it's going to be quite a big step up from the standard car. It's going to be like, oh yeah, that's the special car.
That would be cool. That would be interesting. We've just lost the video. I don't know where we were.
No, we just finished talking about the M3, and then segueing into the M3 Touring. Yeah. I think that's interesting. I think it's a great move from BMW just to get people talking about the brand, you know. I think they've had a lot of negative press with the front end of the car, and ironically now everyone, when that came out especially, everyone was suddenly talking about effectively the back end of the car, and they've forgotten about the nose. So it's exciting, that car, and I think the fact that Audi launched the RS6 for the first time as an Avant in the States at the end of last year, I'm guessing that probably got like BMW thinking, because that was always their excuse to me whenever I asked anyone that was high up in BMW UK or even Germany, why don't we get an M Touring? It was always, our two biggest markets are the States and China, and neither of those guys like Tourings. But I don't think that's so much true for America, because I think it's changed a lot out there. They love their hatches, and we don't give them, Germany, BMW don't give the hatches up. They love, they've changed.
I think they're starting, it's a sort of education process, I guess. We don't all need big trucks anymore.
No.
And then when you start getting smaller cars, and European cars are very different generally to American cars.
Yeah.
And I think they're starting, they're appreciated significantly over there.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start using these things, like a saloon shape, like for me, I like the idea of an M5. I think it's a wicked thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want, personally, that boot style. Because it's just so annoying to actually use.
Yeah.
Whereas your wagon, bloody great.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got that extra dimension of space, haven't you?
Which the door opens all the way. You can just chuck your stuff in.
Yeah. And they lose they lose next to nothing performance like yours compared to S4 Saloon.
It's like the same.
Yeah, it's the same performance figures, basically the same weight. It's like, why would you not? Some people don't like the way your States look, but I just think they're always just cooler. They're just cool.
They are just cooler. I think in Europe and England, I think most people are just like an RS6 is just a cool looking thing.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be the same if it was a coupe.
No,
or whatever.
100%. No, yeah, it's cool because you can put your kids and your dogs and your bikes and your kitchen sink
still
in it.
600 horsepower and whatever, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So M3 touring, I'll admit, I like an M3.
Yeah.
I think they're cool things. And M3 touring sounds like a wicked thing.
Yeah.
Like it would definitely make me look at those cars as an option for a replacement for the S4 or whatever, because it might do pretty much all the stuff. And then occasionally you can just be a bit of a
loon in it.
And it might not understeer. But if it has a horrific front end, so I don't know how it's going to look in M form.
Yeah.
I think that would possibly, I'd just be like, nah, no thanks.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? But I think we also change my 7's a new 7, well, newish. So it's got the big grills.
Yeah, massive grill.
But now it's funny. I've seen so many, like the new the X5 that came out end of 2018, 2019, the current one. That grill now on an X5, when you see one go past, I have to say to myself, is that a new one or is that an old one? Because it doesn't, I've kind of, do you know what I mean?
You adjust, your brain
you adjust, and then you see an old 2, like you go into a BMW showroom now and you've got like an X5 and a 7 Series, and then you've got the 2 Series, which is just about at the end of its life, which had a normal grill as we know it, but that looks tiny. You're like, what is that joke of a grill? And it's like, no, that's, so it is, but that, I don't know, that 4 Series grill is like, I don't know.
It's kind of something else. Like it
is a bit
they're
special.
Making a statement.
And
there's, you can look back to older cars that were all these like swooping styled things from whatever, the 40s, 50s, stuff like that. Or probably even before then. But these cars are not those cars.
No.
The whole aesthetic of the car doesn't fit in with that
design that
it was used to be. But we'll see. When it comes out, I like the idea of an M3 touring, sick.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when a new M3 or whatever, M4 comes out.
Yeah.
I hope it's great.
Yeah.
It's just dying left, right and centre. Apologies for the people that are watching. You're now just going to have Joe's face for the rest of it, which is fine.
Oh yeah, this is it.
But I think we're pretty much near the end. So I normally wouldn't ask some of the same questions again, but I think it's been a significantly long period of time that your opinions have possibly changed. So I'm going to ask you one or two of what would be my questions. If you can only drive one car for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One car for the rest of my life. Let's say, can I tweak something that's out there?
Yeah.
Actually, no. You know what? There's one or two out. I'll have a E46 M3 CSL with the manual conversion.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably
all you want in a car.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I could throw my mountain bike in the boot. Yeah,
Sweet.
Yeah, that's just quick fire, boom, done.
When I saw the manual conversions, I was like, this has added a whole new element to this already interesting car.
Yeah.
No, cool. Okay, 5-car garage.
Oh, okay. So one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a think. So one of those, probably an RS6 in like something a bit funky, like a green with a tan interior or something.
Oh yeah, saw one of those the other day.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
Something. So yeah.
And would you have the current one?
Current one.
Latest greatest.
Reliable, daily. Yeah. And then I would have probably the current GT3 RS as my like fast sports car, road trip car.
Occasional track day use.
Exactly, yeah. And then I think because I've been doing a lot of track days actually over the last, let's say, 18 months. And I would love a really nice track tool. So I don't know, I'd probably take your advice on that. What would be a good track tool for me to put in my dream garage that I would fit in? That's the other thing. I'm 6'4".
So you would fit in. It's difficult when you go like ultimate because there's almost like there's steps I think that you need to do.
Yeah.
So obviously you could have like an F1 car, which would be unreal.
Yes.
But you may not necessarily want to get in that and drive it straight away.
A team of people
but
around
but in your unlimited garage, you could definitely have an F1 car or an LMP1 car or something, which I think would be the dream.
Yeah.
That would just be unreal.
Yeah.
But maybe something like an SR3, like mine, would be wicked. You can get them. The SR8 has more power, that sort of thing, or an LMP3 car.
Yeah.
Or maybe something historic, like an LMP1 car from 20 years ago or something you'd still be able to have your V12.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think you'd have to have
I think a radical SR3 or something would be brilliant, because that you could still turn up to your average track day and kind of manage your way around the slower traffic.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you went a bit crazy with
F1, you can't do that.
Can you imagine coming up behind a Renault Clio?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, you're going through Pau at 180 miles an hour and you catch someone else. You're like, I can't stop. It's not happening.
You just punt them off into space. Yeah, so what's that? That's 4 cars. And then 5th, I guess I've got to have something silly.
Something silly, yeah.
Ironically, I mean, hypercars and all that, they interest me, but I'm never going to be able to afford one. And also I think the ownership of one and actually being able to drive it properly on the road is very small in the UK especially.
Yeah.
So, but there's no denying. I think probably a laugh, I guess.
Nice.
That
They're
V12,
very cool.
yeah, pretty crazy.
Would you have an Aperta?
I mean, I was going to say, does it lose much performance? Can't imagine.
Yeah, you might. A couple more horsepower.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know if this driving position is not sacrificed, and if you're not sitting a bit high,
Because I don't know whether if you get a little bit less headroom in the Aperta, which you sometimes do with convertibles.
Exactly.
The convertible bit's a bit bigger, but then you could have the roof off as well.
Yeah, just permanently have the roof off because I don't fit in it. It's like, who cares?
And drive it on sunny days.
I've got this is a laugh. Like,
exactly.
Deal with it.
Or and if it rains, just leave the roof off. Right? Do you remember? Was it Jethro Bovington or someone like that did a video with a Speciale Aperta?
Yeah.
In Italy, they gave it to him, and it just torrential rain.
Yeah.
And just left the roof down, and I know they say, you can get a bit of rain on it. But this was like torrential, like really proper rain.
Yeah.
And just giving the car back, being like, I've been driving that around for 3 hours in the proper rain.
Wow.
You're probably going to need to rebuild the entire interior, but how about it?
New wiring loom. And
exactly. Because Ferraris are always known for having really good electronics anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think is the best value car under 50K?
Under 50K, yeah. I mean, I have to say, in terms of sports cars, I think the M2 Composition is very good value. But under 50K, okay.
Well, second hand.
Yeah.
They are.
Second hand. Or if we're talking new, I have to say the M340i. This is not me just being a BMW diehard, but the M340i Touring is a really, really good package for 50 grand.
Yeah.
I think it still retains some of the BMW sort of DNA, the straight six. It's got its X-Drive, but it's quite rear bias. It's a touring, so it's practical, as we talked about. I think it's not the most engaging car in the world to drive, but again, I think for a modern package, the tech, the comfort, everything, I think that's probably one of as a modern car, that's probably the best 50 grand.
Yeah, you get a lot for that, and like a used one, it's going to be way less.
Yeah.
And just like so much punch.
Yep.
You've got the estate, you've got nice ride.
Yep.
You don't need much more than that, do you?
No.
You're like a fast daily.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not an SUV.
It's not an SUV.
Yeah.
It's not a hybrid SUV.
Yeah.
Close to 3 tons. And what's the most interesting car to you at the moment?
Probably I think the Gordon Murray, in terms of wanting to. Well, I mean, I don't think I'll ever get a chance to drive one, but just wanting to go and have a look at one. Yeah, lick one. Obviously, COVID.
Feel that gear shift.
just feel that knob. But I think that's just it's weird, isn't it? He's gone completely back to basics, but yet the majority of petrol heads like us are just intrigued by it because it is so. He's ripped everything out. Everything that a modern car is, he's just got rid of. And it's like, but that's what we want. Yeah.
That's what we want. It's the size of a Boxster.
Yeah.
Size of a Boxster. It's got something like 250 litres of luggage space.
Yeah.
It's like, not bad. And you can fit 3 people in it. Yeah. And it's got a 660 horsepower V12 that revs to 12 or something.
Yeah.
And weighs sub 1,000 kilos. Like what?
Yeah.
Just what? What?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone just hit reset on hypercars in 2020. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just coming at it all from a different thing. I hope, and I know I think they will, off the back of this, they'll make some other cars.
Yeah.
And I would love for them to make a 100 grand car or 200 grand car or something that's just like a lot closer than 3 million in price with the same ethos.
Exactly. Yeah. A watered down version.
Bit watered down, maybe 1,100 kilos.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that last 100 kilos is very expensive.
Exactly.
Maybe a V8. I know it doesn't, the vibrations, he doesn't like the vibrations of a V8. It's not as even and perfectly distributed as a V12.
But I'll deal with it.
I'll deal with that. And then maybe make it rev to 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 600 horsepower, 1,100 kilos. That'd be manual gearbox.
Yeah.
That'd be bloody amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lotus are coming out with a new car soon.
Okay.
Next year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to sit, it's either between Exige and Evora or possibly replace one of the others.
Okay.
So I wonder, that'd be interesting for the first like new car to come out of Lotus in a long time.
Yep.
You're talking to those guys, I see them every now and then. And Gavin, who's heads up the sort of vehicle dynamics team, like they get it.
Yeah.
They really get what makes cars like fun and nice to drive.
Yeah.
So maybe.
But they always have, haven't they?
They always
don't
have.
understand because they're just people, other manufacturers use Lotus engineering or talk about it at least a lot of the time. And it's just like, you know, if you get in a Lotus in the past 20 years anyway, it's going to be a driver's car.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I need to actually get, I haven't driven one for years now, but I need to
hit them up, go visit.
Yeah.
And they'll let you take one out the road and probably go around the track.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think possibly, and this is a slightly like depressing thought, there aren't that many people that really love driving to the extent that they would like a car that's light at the expense of the stuff that comes with weight, like more tech and comfort and perceived like quietness and all of these things.
Yeah.
Maybe the image or whatever. But I don't know whether there's enough people that really want that 1,000 kilo, 400 horsepower, like the Alpine A110.
Yep.
Didn't sell that well.
No.
For me, it had to have had a manual gearbox for me.
Yep.
Base, you know, people drive it and they're like, yeah, but it's great.
Yeah.
But would it be better if it had a manual gearbox in it?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think for a lot of the pure people, they could never get around that.
No.
They're like, oh, it sounds great, but it has to have, it just has to have the manual gearbox. It's not a question. So they tried.
Yeah, it's almost like they got almost everything right with that, except, like you said, even though the gearbox isn't as bad as you think it would be, because I've had some shocking Renault gearboxes over the years, even in their RS cars. But yeah, it's the one thing. It's like everything's here, but I just want a manual. I just want it to be that.
Yeah.
I've actually got an A110S coming in a couple of weeks for a couple of days. So I haven't driven. I spent a lot of time in the normal one, which is great on the road. I mean, it's just so, fluid. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the S is.
Yeah, maybe there's just not enough people out there that like that particular like want that in a car.
Yeah.
And therefore they don't sell in the numbers that they need to, and therefore people are not going to make
Can't justify it. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Lotuses hold their value very well, because I don't think they make tons of them.
Yeah.
And when you drive them, like the Exige and the Evora, really good.
Yeah.
And the Elise is good, but it's not what I want. I'm too used to stuff that's much faster than that.
Yeah.
But they're all just such like sweet handling, ride so well.
Yeah.
They just seem a bit old now.
Yeah.
It's like a 10-year-old design or whatever it is. But you never know. Then maybe their next car be like 20 kilos heavier. So 1250 or something.
Yeah.
And might deliver.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We want some more of that. Gordon Murray, sprinkle your magic on some other manufacturers, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's get some actually lightweight stuff. It doesn't have to have 1,000 horsepower or 700 horsepower or even 600 horsepower. 1,000 kilos, 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
Is significantly faster than 1,300 kilos, 500 horsepower.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Mate, absolute pleasure.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's been cool.
I don't know what happened to that video feed. I think the camera's just cooked itself.
Yeah.
But I'll sort that out. Anyway, cheers.
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Good to see you.